I'm doing good.
Hey, just other than the sort of altitude part of things, just what makes Colorado so tough to play in?
Their team or their home court?
All of it.
I think they have a very involved fan base that's enthusiastic at their games. Colorado plays good defense. They share the basketball. Josh Scott is one of the best low-post scorers in our league. I know he's been out, but he could very well play against us. Skia Booker is a guy that can just go off and light up the scoreboard as well. And then they have some complementary players, I think, that can come in and do a good job for them. So they're not going to go away because of their ability to defend. And they play together. They take good shots. They're well coached.
In your last two games, they really haven't been close. Is there any sort of common theme there?
When we've played there,
Yeah,
the
played
score
there.
finally, no. They just flat out beat us both times. A couple of years ago when we were there, I remember we got off to double-digit lead. And halftime, they cut it down. They end up beating us pretty good, but they've just beaten us.
And in the past, you've really sort of tried to downplay that whole altitude thing. Does that play any sort of, does that factor into any of these games at all?
I've played myself in that altitude probably 10 times in my lifetime as a basketball player. I'm going to say there's no such thing as that affecting you. That's not true. It does affect you. But in my opinion, it affects you for about 3 to 5 minutes. The beginning, you just realize that a little short of breath more than you normally are. But then after a while, you kind of get your second wind and you're ready to go. So I feel like sometimes it's overblown by maybe people. I could see why those there would overblow it. I could totally understand that. But you come in there, all right, yeah, for a little while it affects you, but then after that, get over it. It's fine.
They, like you mentioned, they got the altitude written everywhere and all
Right.
that. Is that ever intimidating? Have you ever gotten a sense of that?
It can intimidate you. It can get into your head if you allow it to. I'm a firm believer in that. Yeah, there is something there, but does it affect you for 40 minutes to where you just can't get anything done? I don't think that's the case.
Your past teams you've had that weren't as successful on the road, what do you think the problems were with those teams? And do you see any of those same things from this squad? You guys have only lost twice away from home so far.
Sometimes it's youth. Sometimes just inexperience. Inexperience doesn't travel well on the road unless you're just so talented, more talented than anyone else. I think that affects you on the road for sure, and that could have been the case with some of our teams. Sometimes you're going through just a bad stretch, but for the most part, I think inexperience, poor defense. If you go on the road and you're not defending well, and you're not taking care of the basketball. If any of our teams were at those characteristics, then that would explain why. I think the teams that went on the road and did well had more experience, had guys that could just go make plays on the road. When they're doing a good job defensively against you, sometimes you just have to be able to just go make plays.
And where does this team fit in that conversation?
Well, experience-wise, I think we do okay that way because so far when we've been on the road or in a neutral site, we lost at Cal. We didn't defend well in the second half, but I thought we played good against Stanford, but we didn't win the game. Turned the ball over too much, but I thought we were ready to play. There's a difference. You can go on the road and you can watch teams that there's just a little doubt, can we really get this done? You have that kind of look on your face. I haven't seen that with this team.
How can you take the lessons, or is it relevant taking lessons learned from those first two road games, when you go back on the road, is it important to try to build on the lessons learned from there, or is it more important to just take them one at a time?
Well, I think being able to play defense for 40 minutes we can take from the Cal game, and I think in the Stanford game you got to be able to take care of basketball on the road. You just have to be able to take care of it, and you have to have good shot selection. I think we can learn from both of those instances, because those are both winnable games.
You talk about maybe that them not blinking or whatever. Do you think the confidence has always been there, regardless of them maybe not cashing in at the end of the Stanford game, or was it a matter of getting a couple wins to get them back on the horse?
I haven't sensed that we've lacked confidence on the road at all. I haven't sensed that. I sensed that maybe Seattle U game, the first time we played, even though it was in Seattle, we played away from our place here, and we had a tough time getting things going, but I thought Seattle U was playing good defense, and we finally got it going a little bit, but I've never sensed that we've had doubt or been afraid to play on the road. I actually feel like we've embraced it at this point.
Do you expect to have Darren Johnson back for Thursday?
Yeah, we're pretty sure that he'll be back. We're looking forward to him practicing today and tomorrow, and then we anticipate him playing.
Do you have a better handle on just the shortened rotation, just after those first two games, of just about how sort of guys can sort of do things and sort of what you can do?
I think so. I think so. It's still a little bit of a work in progress, but it certainly helps. Donaven Dorsey comes off the bench and plays the way he did in the last game. That always helps when someone is going to give you that type of effort, type of production, I should say.
And then just the idea of relying on the zone so much. I mean, had you ever thought in your sort of lifetime that you would rely on the zone this much?
No. And I'm with the USA Basketball Selection Committee in some capacity, and the chairman is Jim Boeheim, and I've been able to sit with him and have some good talks about zone, and thinking to myself, you know what, it's fascinating, and I can see that you really believe in this, coach. And it's really worked for you. But I wasn't talking to him thinking because we're going to start playing zone all the time. But out of necessity, we've had to do it. And
it's not so bad, is it?
No, it's been all right.
It's a fine defense.
At the most basic philosophical level, I mean, why have you always preferred man-to-man? Why have you believed in that more?
We've always been a pressure. We've always been a pressure program. Attack, offensively and defensively. And beginning with the injuries last year, we had to back off that. We were so small, we couldn't really do that. And it's just always been my philosophy that you take it to them. You don't wait for them to dictate. And it's a little more difficult to do that in the zone.
Have your guys embraced it, you think, as much as they've had to play it?
I think so. I think our guys are doing a good job. And one of the things that's important if you're doing something new and changing something is there has to be a belief that it's going to be able to work. And I think the more we do it, the more we're effective in it, the more our guys believe that it's something that can work for us. In the non-conference, we used it several times, and it helped us win ball games, so I think there was already a certain level of belief in it. But now that we're doing it more, I think that belief has increased.
And it was after the game on Saturday that you said that Kemp is the one who really kind of made that zone go, because he's had to play out more on the wing.
Yeah, and what was the case was Sean and Robert Upshaw against man teams that when we played man, it was hard for them to play together in the man, because a lot of times they'll have a smaller post player or a post player that's outside quite a bit. And both those guys are so used to playing in paint, it made it a little more difficult. And even when we went zone, it was a little bit difficult for Sean to cover out on the perimeter, but Sean has learned to do it, and he does a really good job now. And that allows us to play those guys together more, and allows us to stay in the zone, because now you are not compensating with any lack of length.
Have you been able to tweak it to put your stamp on it, to still maybe maintain that aggressive mindset and maybe still try to create some transition out of it when possible?
Just a little bit, but there's a fine line in going out trapping and really trying to create turnovers and leaving the basket empty. And yeah, Robert does a good job there, but you don't want to put too much pressure on him. Now he's in foul trouble. So we do still try to go out and pressure the ball. We don't just totally sit back and let you throw it around. We do try to put pressure on the ball.
Do you feel like there are going to be situations maybe down the road where you could probably employ more trapping because you have that presence back there? And
oh yeah, no, that could be the case. But again, we've been holding teams to pretty good, decent field goal percentages on the defensive end, and we would love to create more turnovers because we don't do nearly as good a job as we need to doing that. But again, where we are with our personnel, if you're going to start trapping, your depth really comes into play. Guys get tired more, so we have to make sure we're able to keep guys in the game too.
also during that slide, there was a connection with lack of shooting or the percentage going down, and you were talking about you just have to keep throwing them up or maybe do some different things in practice. Were you able? Did you see it translate? Because it seems like the last couple of games, more shots are starting to go down, or is that just a matter of course?
Yeah. I'm going to really seem dumb saying this, so I'm going to seem something. You guys can come up with the word, but that's how we were shooting the ball early. That's how we were shooting it. That's what I was saying. I think we're going to be fine shooting the basketball because that's what it looked like every day in practice. I'm not embellishing. Every day in practice. That's how it looked early, but then there it went all of a sudden. It wasn't like that. But it is good to see the ball go in the basket more. Guys be more, and guys are confident in shooting the basketball.
Is that just guys settling into roles and getting comfortable and?
Could be, and again, as we continue to work offensively, knowing where you're going to get your shots, that helps also. But guys are getting in the gym, taking extra shots.
Yeah, nothing changed like that then? No different routines or anything like that to try to maybe jumpstart things?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe in my subconscious we were doing something to change it, but no, I don't think so.
Has Donaven done anything recently better to kind of defeat the scout or work around it? It seemed like he got open, obviously, a few more times than he had been.
Donaven did two things in the game that, if you look, hadn't been able to do that much in preseason or before. He outran everybody one time and got a shot in the corner that was wide open because he ran the floor, spaced the floor. There's a difference in being in a position where the shot goes up and you're near half court already, so you're there. But he ran a distance, even changed sides of the floor and ran to a corner. He needs to be able to do more of that. He needs to be able to get ahead of the defense at times because that's one of the hardest threes to guard is transition three because someone's picking up the ball and they're scattered down the way. But he did that, and then it wasn't a shot, but he got a steal. He got a deflection of the steal, went down the court and dunked the ball. He was more active. He's been doing extra work away from practice to get himself in better condition. And that was probably the first game that I saw that it paid off.
Does he remind you of anyone?
He shot the couple in the corner. I thought of Glenn Rice, but he's not as tall as Glenn Rice. I'd have to give that some thought.
How much better can you be when he's doing enough things well, especially on the defensive end, I guess, that you can keep him on the floor for 15, 20 minutes in a game?
He had 5 rebounds, too.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's had a game this year where he pulled down 5 rebounds. Defensively, he wasn't making very many mistakes. He was doing those. If he's doing those things, even if his shot isn't going in as much, he still has a chance to stay on the floor more. And that stretches the defense just because you know he's out there. You've got to guard him. But when he actually is knocking the shots down, it definitely makes us a better team.
Is there any comparison between his freshman year and a guy like CJ, or was it just, you know?
No, totally different. And then CJ was different because he redshirted his first year, but his actual freshman year, playing the game, I think they're different.
And I use that because I remember with CJ that you counted on him in some key situations.
Michigan State,
I didn't want to break that.
Texas A&M.
Okay. Well, there you go. But yeah,
It's interesting to look back on that now and say, what were you thinking letting a freshman take those shots? And now you look, he's an all-time leading three-point shooter in the history of the program. It's just that we would see that every day. And freshman, kindergarten, whatever it is, guy keeps making shots. You would think he's going to make the shot. And, you know, we all know he made a whole lot of shots for us and helped us win a whole lot of games. And we just felt like even when CJ was a freshman, he was so good at knocking that shot down that in a situation, people may not guard him as much because he was a freshman. They think they have to guard Isaiah Thomas and some other guys.
But so are their roles similar in that sense that they're, I mean, that it would seem that with Donaven, he's just out there to shoot three-pointers.
That is not the plan, because Donaven can do more than that. Donaven can put the ball on the floor and create a shot. Donaven can draw the defense and pass it. He's capable of doing all those things, but he just hasn't done them yet. And when he's open, we do want him to knock the shot down. He has the green light. Rarely do we tell him not to shoot the ball when it's open, but he is capable of doing more. And like CJ, each year CJ got better at doing that. I always bring up Klay Thompson, the fact that we played them his freshman year toward the end of the year, and he had only attempted 22